All right, so thank you for coming to this session. This is going to definitely elaborate more on what I talked about in my intro. And it's called Why Businesses Need Alexa Skills and Google Actions. And so regardless of what kind of business you guys have or what role you play in your business, you're kind of thinking about what your customers and clients care about is like always going to be the main focus regardless of whatever role you're in. And so as it relates to our voice-based skills that we're talking about, they do the following things, and I'll kind of walk you guys through some examples, but saving time, reducing friction, and then meeting your customers and clients where they are kind of the three main high-level ways to use these voice skills to accomplish the goal of increasing your client satisfaction level. So I'm going to walk you guys through two different kinds of Alexa skills and Google Actions. One that would be geared around like improving your marketing and lead generation, so like driving more awareness for your business. So for any of you who are marketers or trying, like salespeople, trying to get new customers, small business owners, like any small business owner is like all of the above, right? And then the second type of skill is for engagement and retention. So if you're in like customer service or operations or, you know, anything, account management, things like that. And again, all small business owners need to be concerned about engagement and retention. So I'll walk you guys through just a couple of different examples. And we'll start with Alexa skills being the new website. So this is like the marketing lead generation type of voice-based app. And so if you imagine like your website getting married to an Alexa skill and figuring out like, let's go ahead, let's do this, let's figure out how we can both work together to provide that customer experience. It's almost what I mean by this is like, when you have a website, we're all used to like the website usability design. Like I think everyone's kind of used to where to find the About Us page, where to find the conversion, where to go to buy a product. And there's different optimizations that can be done within that. So it's never like signed, sealed, and delivered. But for the most part, there's general best practices established since like the late 90s and it continuing to evolve since the late 90s, I should say, for like how to build a website. None of that is really established for any of what I'm about to talk about. So we have to kind of think through like this new voice user interface design. So thinking about like where our customers are or where our employees are when they're using these types of devices. And like thinking about, okay, well, if I'm sitting in front of at my desk now or at home now, and I've got my browser open on my laptop, I generally know what I'm doing. And so website publishers can, again, design for that experience, and it's pretty well familiarized. But if you think about like sitting down with a voice-based device, like there's ways that people will get frustrated by that. There's different things that they might say or might not say. It's clicking on the About Us page is different than, that's a guaranteed, like you're gonna go to the About Us page. But what do you say to the voice app? Like how does that even work? So I'm gonna walk you guys through an example of like a current client of ours. They don't have this implemented yet, but it's basically like, I think applicable to any business. Like an example of how you could do this so that you have basically an Alexa skill that's like a voice-based version of your website. So you could say something like, Alexa, let's talk about Stewart Transportation Solutions. Alexa, that begins the conversation. Alexa says a little bit about Stewart Transportation Solutions. So they work with companies in need of event transportation and VIP transportation. Would you like to learn about conference shuttles or executive transportation? So it's getting right into like where you would go in like the services page on a website, right? And you're learning about the services, and it's just getting you there a little bit faster, like while you're potentially doing something else. Or maybe you have 5 minutes to prepare for a meeting and you can pull this up right away instead of like reading through the entire website. So it's key that there's a question asked, right? Because it's like a choose your own adventure book. It's like a website, choose your own adventure, but voice-based. And I love those books growing up, so I like to use that analogy. So if you say something like conference shuttles, then it's gonna take you down like the audio version of the conference shuttles page on that website. And then it's going to ask you another question. Would you like to learn more about our experience in, like, so basically case study type stuff, or would you like to just go ahead and book a consultation or learn more, in this case, learn more about our proprietary technology? And so proprietary live count technology, and this is where I think it gets really cool, because throughout this whole experience, the same way that you would write web copy, like that's in your brand voice and want your users to connect with your brand, you can author exactly what you want Alexa to say, and you can even replace Alexa's voice with an audio file of your voice. So from a branding standpoint, you can get real, it's just an extension of your brand in a audio only type of way, right? So I have like awesome, great choice. You know, you might not say something like that. If you're a little bit more of a professional company, you might say something a little bit different depending on your audience. If you're like Pine and Sapling, you're catering towards a particular type of audience, you might say something that's like in that brand voice as part of this. Would you like to request a free consultation, or would you like to keep learning? So again, another question. Like, how would you like, and you can say Alexa stop, and you can have a customized stop message that says whatever you want it to say about your business. You could say, check us out on our website. We've got a podcast, check it out. Follow us on Twitter. Like, you want it to be, you know, like a part of the whole ecosystem. Yeah. So keep learning more about Stewart. Great, let's keep talking about Stewart. Would you like to learn more about case studies or meet the team? So this is like, I tried to keep this like website content, but in an Alexa skill, just for like no barrier to entry for anybody doing this. Like getting started and having this, having like this type of skill is, we're building it for clients now. It's not that hard to do. It's just like building a website, building a voice-based version of it. So let's hear about some case studies. And now you can say like, we've worked for Starbucks, we've worked for Microsoft. Would you like, so going down that path. And so back to kind of the punchline of reducing friction, saving time, and meeting your audience where they are. I think this is where it starts to get, you might be thinking like, how does that part work? Because right now it feels like a lot of friction. It feels like, well, I could just look at their website. I could just pull up their website on my phone and I would hear like, or I would see everything that I need to see about that brand. But then when you think about like being in a meeting and not being able to like quickly pull up the thing, and now you're scrolling to find it, that kind of thing, you're in a conversation, and if there's a device in the room, and honestly the device is on your device in the app, so you could pull it up and just start talking to it. You don't need the device. You don't need the Echo, right? And the Google Home and all that. Or, I mean, we're all super busy. Like the world has totally changed in terms of like where we run our businesses from, how we run our businesses. A lot of us are like, I mean, great example. Like you get like, we have like an adorable little baby in the session here. Like that's amazing. So like you might have to go somewhere right after this to a doctor's appointment, right? You probably have business to attend to. You can pull up the app and learn about, if the types of businesses start doing this, they reduce friction for their audience because they give them the ability to learn about it in all these different settings. And then a couple of my favorites are like while exercising, while driving. This is going to be a key one because like if you guys are all from around here or really anywhere in a suburb or major city in the United States, you're spending a lot of time in the car. And so there's already like at least 6 different ways that Alexa is in cars right now. And one of my favorites is the middle one, the Rove Viva. That's just that's just a cigarette lighter plug that you plug into that old cigarette lighter, and it basically puts Alexa in your car. So like you don't have to, it's basically zero barrier to entry to have that. So now if you're any kind of business and you have a website, you need to think about, okay, let's do a voice-based version of this website. Let's do an Alexa skill that essentially has the same information, but like a different flow to it based on what you guys think would work best for your audience. And like I said, that's totally unestablished. And the cool thing to me is like I built one for this conference. So I said like, so you can say Alexa open Nashville voice conference. And it'll say like, are you an attendee? Are you a facilitator? Are you media or staff? And then you say like facilitator, and then it'll say, okay, tell me your name, and then it'll tell like your responsibility, your details. So then like these guys who are facilitating, like Audrey could say Audrey Woo, and then it'll say like, okay, Audrey, like thanks for coming. Like your presentation is on XYZ. You need to prepare these things. And so to be able to go ahead and like produce something like that, and then have it again like in a time-saving situation to be able to pull it up is a good thing. And it can differentiate your business too. Again, because here's where I was going with that. Stuart used it. So if you haven't been to Stuart, he's in the tea room. So you'll see him in the next couple sessions. He used it and he was like, hey man, I said, because like I wrote it and it was like, as a facilitator, would you like to learn specifically more about your session? And so he was saying a different variation of that, which was very like, would have been very common, and I didn't think of that. So he was like, hey, I don't think it works. Like when I say this, it doesn't work. And I was like, well, I know why, because I didn't put that word in to make it go to the next thing. So then it hit me like, this is totally unestablished. That kind of thing is gonna happen. You can get that kind of user feedback, add that, republish it, and then learn and be like experts on this. So what we're trying to do is provide value in like the voice user interface design, which is like totally new. And then I'm big on the data, right? So like that's what the underlying premise of why people would work with us is like we add that little extra bit of, okay, well, if you do this with your website or that with your website versus this other thing, you have X amount more chance of conversions based on this data. And so the proof is in the data here in terms of just point number one, how people are getting their information. It just kind of talks about the growth of smart speakers, smart assistants in the home, the rise of it, increasing 15% each month. And then just even from 2017 to 2018, from 1% to 22% having smart speakers in the home. My favorite are the next two, which is like businesses reporting to sources like voicebot.io and business.com that they have a 43% revenue increase 9 months after launching an Alexa-enabled product, and then a 53% boost launching where I believe businesses should all consider going first, which would be like a voice-based extension of a current product where you already have something and then you just allow, you layer the Alexa skill on top of that and you just allow your users to access the same information but via voice. Much like how like a website has a mobile app and maybe you can, if any of you are preparing for fantasy football drafts, I'll use an example. rotoworld.com is a site that has like everything, all this information on sports. Well, their app is just like one thing, their top thing. And so that could be the voice-based version of that. And then the smart speaker market, Audrey's gonna talk more about this in her session, but right now, Alexa makes up 62% of the market, Google Home makes up 24%, but when you add Google Assistant on top of that, it's really even. So you kind of need a presence on both. And so that's where Google, you think of it like an iOS app and an Android app. All businesses, when they're building mobile apps now, they do both, and there's a way, if you hire a good team to do it, where you can code both alongside one each other, tap into the code base, publish it to the correct stores, get it published. It's a similar type of situation, although on Google, there's different, it's a different approval process. And Audrey's gonna walk you guys through. If you haven't been to her yet, have you been to Audrey yet? Okay.
No, we started.
You started with Stuart. Okay, cool. So Audrey's gonna talk more about like the intricate differences of what you can do within a Google action and an Alexa skill. But everything I've talked about so far in terms of like the website version of the skill, that can be done. We publish it, we write it all in one and then publish it to both basically at the same time. So you get both, which is really cool. So essentially you gotta, every time I say Alexa skill, you should kind of think like, I'm doing it because the data says that there's that many more users using Alexa, but really think of it like Alexa skill and Google Action voice app, right? And so, one thing I told the other group is that like, it's really easy to get intimidated by having to post on LinkedIn in addition to Facebook, in addition to Instagram, in addition to like blogging or all these other things to get the word out about your business. And so I'm empathetic to the fact that like this kind of information could very easily become like just another thing that I have to do. And so I think it doesn't have to be that for you. Like, you can think about what is a way that I can add value to my audience that supplements my current experience. And that's where I'll segue over into the retention-based skill that I talked about earlier, the second type. And so we realized that we're a web design and digital marketing company. And we saw the data telling us, like, okay, we need to help introduce people to the voice space, and we need to start building these Alexa skills, because that's what's happening now, and it's for sure what's going to be happening next. So I thought, what could we do to provide an enhanced customer experience for our clients, provide a little bit additional value, and maybe help with retention? So the number one thing when anybody buys a website from us, or we help them with their digital marketing, is like showing them the return on investment on that. It's like, if you spend $2,000 on a website or whatever, you're gonna wanna know, like, how well did my $2,000 do for me? And so Google Analytics is like the number one way to just go in and say, like, here's how your web traffic is doing. Like, you're up because of this, or you're down because of that. Your top pages are this, your least effective pages are these. And so when we talk to some clients of ours about Google Analytics, they basically were saying, well, we get it, we love it, we want to do it, but we don't know, we don't see the time that we can dedicate into like checking it all the time, and like navigating through the platform, teaching ourselves how to use it, and what does this all mean, basically. So we said, if we take the top like 4 to 6 things that we know you should be looking at, and we just say, give you the ability to ask Alexa about it, would you do it? And they all said, yes, 100%. So we tried to do it. So now we've got Ask Data-Driven Design. And now we have the ability to ask Alexa how your web traffic is doing, find out if your web traffic is up or down, what your overall site bounce rate is, which is like a very important engagement statistic, where most of your web traffic is coming from, so that you can understand like what the growth opportunities are to grow your business. And then, what are my top viewed pages? So those are the core 4 things that we have right now. And so this is now a skill that anyone who buys a website from us, anyone who does really any kind of business from us, gets access to this skill.